Part of the Christmas magic is that home-cooked meal, but putting food on the table can be expensive. 7 News reporter Sean Brinda tells us what the Ogdensburg Catholic Charities is doing to provide all the fixins for families in need.
Every bit helps when it comes to supporting people who can't afford a meal for Christmas, and Catholic Charities in Ogdensburg is trying to make sure families are well fed.
And rather than compete with other services, we try to look at where a need might not be met or maybe underserved, and we try to jump in there.
The temporary closure of the Ogdensburg Salvation Army was one factor which led Catholic Charities to give away meal packs for Thanksgiving this year and now for Christmas. Ogdensburg Diocese Bishop Terry LaValle says given this year's challenges like inflation and the temporary closure of the Salvation Army Center, more families are in need across the North Country.
The need here in Ogdensburg, again, is tremendous, not only for food, but for housing and a variety of services, and I'm just so grateful Catholic Charities are to provide that.
So far, Catholic Charities has given around 318 meal bags to families in need, and that's for both Thanksgiving and Christmas. Each meal bag comes with a choice of meat, vegetables, stuffing, and pie ingredients to help with Christmas dinner. Catholic Charities organizers say if there are families who still need help this Christmas season, they should reach out to the organization for assistance. Sean Brinda, 7 News.